I was at an event last week and I went to a talk. It was about Akashic Records. I used to kind of self-lead my own Akashic journeys for years, um, but I haven't done it in ages, so it was very nice to go to the talk. And then during the talk, the lady started talking about twin flames. It just came up in a conversation in kind of as she was doing what she was doing, right? And she spoke about twin flames as though they're just karmic initiations and you need to clear that karma in order for the twin flame to then be gone. Now, it's really interesting because it's a real example of kind of how so many distortions can take place when you're on like in the community of spirituality or wherever it is. And how much you really need to find your alignment within yourself to really understand what's happening. There's so many misconceptions, when there's something that has so much divine light to it and is here to bring so much divine love, it can often come with a lot of shadow and false light attached to it. You really have to own your story and really check in with yourself to see what that is for you, right? And there's lots of like people speaking like that and talking like that, and divine works in absolute mysterious wonderful ways, right? Because sometimes that's exactly a message that somebody does need to hear, who is in a kind of a relationship that is very unhealthy, not necessarily a twin flame relationship, but a relationship they need to leave, right? That is their own karmic contracts or whatever it is that they're playing through. Not everyone has what you would call a twin flame, okay? And ultimately, yes, you have a lot of karmic healing you need to go through. Everybody does on their own individual journeys, but different spiritual connections have different purposes, right? You really need to check in with yourself. And too many people kind of will jump on a bandwagon of just whatever is being said. It's like across history you hear so much about all the misconceptions, anyway, I won't go into that. It's a whole nother story. But the point is to really come back to self and find what your shadow is. Everything that you go through in your life, the people, the situations will always take you back to your own alignment or misalignment, right? So wherever it is, it's always an opportunity for you to learn what is the shadow within you that is being fed, that is being pulled on, that is pulling you as well into kind of disarray is what I've heard there. So there's just a lot of illusion and there's a lot of false energy in these kind of, I say false energy, not false energy, just kind of information that isn't really everyone's truth. And just because something isn't some person's truth doesn't mean it's not yours. Just because something is someone else's truth doesn't mean it's not, and it's not yours doesn't mean it's not true, right? Everyone has their own version of their truth. And that's their path right now in their life, but also their journey across lifetimes. This is what it is. It's kind of like your time is your timeline. And that's going to be from you now all the way through lifetimes, truly. King of Wands, Ten of Pentacles, and the Emperor. It feels like, and this is what it is, kind of this energy of holding in on that masculine. You've got to learn how to use your logic and when to use your logic, right? But first comes the feminine, the divine feminine within you, to activate what that is. Two of Cups underneath the Emperor there as well, okay? Someone's really understanding their journey better, but it's because they're no longer being bogged down by kind of, it's an interesting term, so I don't know if you say that, by kind of external information, because we are living in a world of information, right? A time where you can literally just, depending on what society you live in and where you are in the world, you truly can just kind of, all it takes is a few clicks of a button, right? And you've got all this information before you. Someone's, I was going to say they've been preparing for this new cycle. This is abundant. There's the sun, there's the world. This is real closure. This is someone who's been taking their time to really step into that divine masculine role. Yeah. They're single, whoever this message is for, okay? And they're coming into alignment with their absolute divine purpose here. I've got the Queen of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck as well there. I've got very fire signs, earth signs coming through heavy. There just seems to be like a cycle of kind of sovereignty, and that's what this is. This is the whole point of me talking on this. This is you reclaiming your soul sovereignty. It was never about following institutions or following rules or whatever it is. It was always about coming back to yourself to understand kind of there's decay and density in the world, and you're not a part of that, but you can be drawn into that with this Knight of Wands energy. You know, there's so many pulls that will, again, those base 3 chakras, but it's always because of whatever's been going on in your life, the trauma that's been there from a very young age that has been pulling the puppet strings, right? And as you consciously begin to heal now with the Star card, you understand this. You can really step into the leadership of your own life, the role in your own life, right? 6 of Cups, confirmation. Oh, there's quite a few cards there. Confirmation, this is kind of that past life healing. Not past life, doesn't say. Okay, maybe past life. But inner child healing is definitely coming through here. Someone's, they're looking ahead. It's like their eyes are not anywhere else. It's like just purely ahead. They know what they want to do. They're missing something from their past. They're nostalgic about something, someone or something, I'm not sure, but whatever the case, they know how they want to, the Tower. Either a shake-up is about to enter, or there was a shake-up. So let's just find out some more here. Again, you know, there's a lot of things that you'll hear, and it's just about not believing everything that comes your way. You know, it's got to be based off your truth, and you can't be in that state of illusion either. Your timelines of pain, of fear, of illusion. King of Cups, this is someone who has had a Tower and the 8 of Cups there. They've had to walk away from so much that was completely taking them out of into misalignment, away from kind of this sovereign energy, their heart, allowing their heart to lead, right? Allowing themselves to step into the divinity of who they are, you know, taking on those qualities. Yeah, they've had betrayal here, 7 of Swords and the Queen of Swords. They've had betrayal in love. They've experienced it, but I think also there's something about their karmic wheel there that was really present. So, you know, it was all up to them to set things straight within themselves, if that makes sense. You know, you can't keep getting pulled away. And this is what they're realising, okay? 10 of Wands energy here as well. So definitely a heavy cycle that they're coming out of now. But they're seeing the light. They're finally seeing the light. It's just about them returning to who they were all along. Again, that soul sovereignty, strength. 2 of Wands. That's beautiful. So, you know, with this courage that they're gaining, this path has opened. And not only has it opened, they're ready to take, to do what they need to do, to work, to move forwards in this direction. And they're going to take it steady this time is what I'm hearing. I've heard they've become much more independent and reserved with their energy, which is so, like, something that was needed, I think, because it was really chaotic before. So, you know, again, hearing too much of this, too much of that, even when it comes to labels and things, what's your truth? That's what it comes back to. So I'm hearing no more illusion, and someone is no longer taking their past hurts with them where they're going. Yeah, that doesn't mean that maybe they won't get triggered moving forwards, but they're understanding themselves better now, they're understanding their situations, and they're having more trust in what they're moving towards. There's more clarity for them, you know, without the external, the Empress with the Ace of Swords there. So definitely someone is bringing clarity to somebody. Yeah, I think I think there's a balance happening, whether it's with you and somebody else, but there's definitely this energy of wanting to work towards something to clear this conflict. There's been conflict here. It's time to clear that conflict, right? Yeah, there's been far too much happening on the external. 5 of Swords and the 5 of Wands. There was, not only was there conflict here, there was some kind of external energies present. So that was specifically a person, but also multiple voices that were coming through. Okay, so it's time for success now. With the 6 of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Okay, time for someone to really they've got success on their mind wherever they're going. I'm also seeing ready. So I'm seeing an engagement ring, so this could be high level of commitment in a relationship for somebody. But I'm also seeing kind of someone really honing in on their gifts and their purpose here. So there's definitely this energy of no longer being confused by kind of the systems that were oppressing them is what I'm hearing, okay? So definitely kind of removing all the chains. And that's going to really help someone to see clearly as well, not just their path and their purpose, but also the world and what they can do to bring their light into the world, which is really beautiful, okay? So again, Avoiding future conflicts means really honing in on yourself, finding that space for you to come back to yourself, your alignment when you feel like you're out of alignment. And that's part of this kind of coming back to this divine justice, this balance that's coming in, okay? It's kind of this energy of needing to be willing to clear through this now, to no longer stay in that state of instability, right? It's been really quite like internally unstable, externally as well. Queen of Wands here. So I've got the King and Queen of Wands and the Emperor and the Empress. Heavy fire and earth energies coming through, okay? Four of Pentacles. Five of Cups. Okay, someone's really regretful. They're stuck on whatever this past situation is and they're really regretful about this. They want a new beginning. They're ready to take a leap of faith because they're no longer carrying the weight of this past hurt anymore. Although, you know, they might still feel it and they might still take a lot of courage to move forwards. It's still, they're still seeing, I think they're seeing more light on the other side now, if that makes sense. You know, they're getting closer to that light. They've been in the dark for so long, which means they've been doing some beautiful healing, clearing through their own internal misconceptions, illusions, really hearing that word a lot in this energy, okay? So be mindful, even in the spiritual community or whatever it is, you know, there's a lot of, you know, there's dogma still. So it's kind of like coming back to your truth, knowing what that is for you, knowing that you have a specific divine mission, connecting with divine on that, to understand that your signs, your symbols, whatever it is, are going to be so unique to you. Pay attention. You know, you're not crazy or whatever you want to call it. You know, like I said before, we're all a little bit crazy. Alice in Wonderland is coming to mind. Once you begin to recognize the divine within yourself, you recognize divine within everyone and anything outside of you truly, which means that you can truly operate from that place of love and compassion, not as a walking mat, but because you have actually been honoring yourself. You've been looking in the mirror. You've been releasing these unhealthy attachments and needs for validations or just external kind of gain or whatever it is, because you've been finding it within yourself. That's what it truly means to find your kind of the divine love within and operate from that space, because you're no longer attaching it to anyone or anything outside of you. You're honoring your truth and you're accepting only that which treats you as such as well, okay, which is so important. That does not mean that you still don't need to work on like connections or whatever it is that you're working on, right? It still means you've got to put yourself forwards in that position, but it just also does mean that you can honor everybody on their own journeys. Soul sovereignty, okay, really important. I think there's something really here about someone's really honing in on their own power and they're respecting the power of others outside of them more as well. They're understanding that better, okay, which is a place from which they want to really take this leap. They want to move forwards now, no more looking back. But also honoring where they've come from, cycling through, like layering, you know, the layers that you have to heal through. They're doing that, truly, okay. Specific, unique message. Let me know if this was for you. Sending so much love.